Welcome to a Virginia Reports conversation. I'm Lexi Solomon, and today I'm chatting with Katia Savelyeva, a rising junior majoring in English at the University of Mary Washington. Like myself and millions of other college students, she found her life plans dramatically altered by the pandemic. With the study abroad program put on hold and limited class offerings in the fall, Katia is one of countless young adults wondering what her future in a post-COVID-19 world will look like. But I'll let her tell you more about that. So Katia, thank you for your time today. Really excited to be talking to you. How about you just introduce yourself a little bit so viewers can get to know you?
Thank you. So like Lexi said, I'm an English major at UMW with a minor in digital studies, and I was planning to study abroad in Bath, England in fall of 2020 until I put that on hold for the sake of the pandemic. So since then, I've been just kind of trying to figure out what my many possible futures are like, depending on how this goes.
So I assume you've been in communication with the study abroad office at UMW. What kind of options have they given you?
Pretty much right now, they haven't even officially canceled a lot of the fall programs because, well, at this point, it would probably qualify as wishful thinking to a degree, but they're kind of waiting to even things out. But I think a lot of people have just canceled of their own volition. So right now, I've formally deferred my study abroad admission to the spring of 2020. I mean, 2021. But if that doesn't work, I'm not sure if the next step is to defer it one semester further, because that'll be my senior year, and possibly it'd be questionable to do a study abroad program at that point, or to just kind of give it up or go in the summer or something like that.
Right. And since they haven't officially canceled it, they haven't been talking to you about refunds or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the official plan for fall 2020, I remember this from the very beginning of when this all started, is that everyone receives a full refund if they cancel before everyone leaves. But then if I don't know what the refund situation is if, say, they go to England in September and then in October everyone comes back. So I guess that'd be something they'll have to calculate on the spot if that's the case.
Right. And so since you've deferred your study abroad, I know that as someone who studied abroad myself, that can really alter your coursework and kind of your plan for how you're going to study. So how has that changed, your plan for what classes you were going to be taking in the fall?
It's been a mixed bag. It's definitely been the most stressful registration season I've ever been through, because I'm the kind of person who wants to make a little color-coded Google Doc like a month in advance of when class registration starts. So it's been really unpredictable, and it's been all right in some cases because I've gotten to still sign up for 2 English classes with professors I really care about that I'll be able to take and wouldn't have been able to take if I'd studied abroad. But then on the other end of that, for my minor, there was the issue of I had a plan and I had a backup plan and I had a backup plan to the backup plan, and I had to cancel all of them because the course offerings were just significantly diminished by the fact that all our departments had to cut a lot of adjunct professors at the last moment. So as part of budget stuff related to the pandemic. So now I'm kind of rearranging my requirements.
Right. Have you noticed that any one particular department has had a lot more course offerings altered, or is it kind of evenly spread across the different departments in your experience?
I'm not sure, because I'm not super aware of what's happening in departments outside of my own, which up until recently was the same department. Both my major and my minor fell under English, linguistics, and communication. So I know in that one, adjuncts were cut, I think not super dramatically, but dramatically enough that I think it impacted communication and digital studies more, because that's a newer program than English.
Right. So I guess now that you've had to adjust for these classes being cut, how do you foresee that impacting your ability to minor in digital studies? Because I know maybe some classes were supposed to be available in the fall, but now they won't be available till fall of your senior year. And of course that might kind of coincide with your changed study abroad plans. So what is that going to look like for you?
That's a great question. I think I should be fine for the minor because I basically have completed almost all of my major coursework and all of my general education coursework. But it definitely makes it kind of a tighter fit in that I'm going to have to be less picky and less exacting about classes in the fall and just kind of take what's available and really prioritize my major and my minor in my schedule, which could be problematic when it comes to senior seminars at UMW because they're offered a kind of a weird schedule for English where it's hard to kind of predict them in advance. So aside from that potential conflict, it should be okay, but it's definitely a little more stressful than it was before.
Right. Well, and I know we've talked a lot before one-on-one about the differences between how our respective schools have communicated with us and how they've been altering their plans. How has Mary Washington been communicating with you about this? Like, have they been super clear and transparent, or what has it been like?
It's been a mixed bag. I would say it's overall been quite positive. In terms of support, I would say that the administration has been quite understanding about the kind of like the nature of these changes and the impact they're having on students. And I think in terms of resources they're providing in that regard, UMW is doing quite well. But with regards to the actual practical things, like course offerings, for instance, I kind of had to learn from my academic advisor the day of registration that the reason a lot of the class offerings were gone was because of the cuts to professors. With regards to that, they've kind of been letting us figure things out on our own. And I understand that it's kind of understandable to not have to, there's so much happening that it's hard to keep us abreast of everything that's happening. But I think registration could have potentially been a little bit more clear.
Right. And I know that with being like a smaller public school, Mary Washington is, of course, going to have some unique challenges that bigger schools like Tech or UVA might not be facing. So in your opinion, how do you feel Mary Washington is going to uniquely have to adjust to a COVID-19 world?
I think it's definitely going to be, there's definitely going to be financial issues. I think it's going to look like a very different campus because we've already been, a big mission of Mary Washington in the past year has been trying to get at branding and attracting students because a lot of people just kind of don't know about UMW because it's a really great school, but it kind of doesn't get some of the attention that, I don't know, sports and Greek life naturally get a campus, just because for a lot of people that's a bit of a deal breaker, which is understandable, but there's also other people to whom our campus appeals who might just not be super aware of our school. So it was kind of strange that in the middle of all these kind of changes and attempts to improve enrollment and marketing and things like that, there's suddenly this huge thing that entirely out of our control is going to impact enrollment way more than anything else could have. So I think it's going to be a small freshman class, and frankly a pretty sad freshman class emotionally because they've just missed out on kind of like their big moment of high school closure. But I don't know, even though it's going to be different, it might be hard, but I'm excited to meet these kids and kind of, I don't know, see what perspectives they have.
Right, of course. And has UMW shared anything with you guys yet about what the fall might look like for you in terms of like social distancing?
Not clearly, no. Nothing really along those lines. It's been a lot of guesswork on our parts. I think there's different levels of communication happening. So there's, so far we really haven't heard anything besides we're open in the fall, we hope. So
right, yeah.
I don't know, maybe that'll come later, maybe not.
Right. Well, especially being a smaller school, I kind of wonder, and hopefully, you can provide some more clarity on this. Since it's a smaller campus, it might be even more difficult for Mary Washington students to practice social distancing and practice spacing out those classrooms like the CDC is recommending we do, right?
Yeah, potentially. I think it depends on department because I think the English department might handle it okay because we have decent sized classrooms and also decent sized classes, but still possibly not ideal. But then for majors that have bigger intro classes, like, I don't know, political science or history or things like that, it's definitely probably going to be more of a challenge. And logistically, yeah, we definitely don't have as much free space maybe necessarily.
How big is the average class for you as an English student?
It's about 20 people, 20 to 25.
Okay.
I think both of mine this coming semester have 20 people.
So as a Mary Washington student and as someone who, in particular is a rising junior, what is your biggest area of concern with how your school is going to be handling the pandemic?
With regards to my school itself, I think possibly residence life concerns, because our school just finished renovating one of our historic dorms and it's now renovating another one. And I think with regards to living recommendations, I think living in dorms, which a good portion of the campus does even into their upperclassmen years, it's going to conflict in a weird way. And I'm not sure how residence life is going to handle that, because I haven't really received a lot of communications about it.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you are a scholarship student, and I believe we've talked before about how Mayor Washington asks scholarship students to live on campus, correct?
Yes.
So wouldn't you say that this kind of disproportionately will impact them as well, since residence life will be a concern?
Possibly, yes. I think not even so much living on campus as that we're required to live in doubles. So even though potentially I'm not sure actually if we're required to live in doubles to keep our scholarship, or if the scholarship exclusively pays for a double and not for a single. But regardless, that's kind of an option I feel like I don't have either way, which isn't, I don't know, there's worse problems to have. It's not something that's stressing me out enormously, but that is a good point, I guess.
So I guess my final question for you would be, with your final years of college coming up, like myself, where do you see this pandemic intersecting with your last 2 years at Mary Washington? Like, what do you think the ultimate takeaway for you will be from this?
I don't know. I think that's something that's really frightening to think about right now. Like I mentioned earlier, I was kind of moving around study abroad in my head, trying to figure out every eventuality and the kind of worst case, best case scenario. And that kind of had me thinking in general about how there's so much we don't know about the next 2 years. And basically the only way I've been able to, I don't know, still keep a perspective on my college years is to focus on the things that I am getting and the things that I know I'll be getting regardless, which is that I very much trust the professors in my department to be adjusting to distance learning if they still have to in the fall, and to kind of be there for students because they already very much have been. There's this kind of mixed bag of being very, very unsure of where the future will actually go, and also trusting the people I know to be able to work with everyone and work with each other to make the best out of this.
Right. Well, thank you for your time today. And thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more conversations like this in the future.